First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessor, transmitting masters, and everyone here today for the opportunity to continue discussing this topic. So we're talking about creating happiness. Of course, happiness is typically thought of, you can say it's an emotion. It's like a feeling, right? And then of course I also mentioned the highest level of happiness is kind of that internal, you can say internal satisfaction or internal joy, which is kind of goes beyond anything. I mean, that would be kind of like an a lasting happiness, if you will. Okay, but of course it's hard to get to that level, right? That's when we become like a Buddha, a Bodhisattva, right, with the four immeasurable minds, then you can have that kind of infinite happy joy. Okay, but maybe we're certainly not at that level. We're still cultivating, and so we do need to kind of experience this typical happiness feeling, the happy feeling in our lives. Okay, so and that comes from, well, the things around us. All right, so okay, so here's we want to explain things as having good intent or in a positive way. All right, so yeah, we live in a relative world. Everything's relative. So basically, there could be, well, not just like good or bad or positive and negative, whole spectrum, right? of views or perspectives on things, and so we can, but it's really our choice, right? It is our choice to decide how we want to view something, right? Even though situations, things that happen are actually, they are neither good nor bad. We place that judgment on it ourselves, right? So and so it is up to us. And everyone, the thing is, everyone, remember, everything is relative. So everyone, every person, or every sentient being has their own view, has their own perspective on things, on the same situation, on the same thing. They will have their own perspective. And so that's what it's all relative. So there is no absolute. So it's not to say that any one particular one is right or wrong. Okay, so but so we can choose. Now we can choose, say, oh, this someone said something, and I can say, well, are they insulting me? Or I can just maybe just just kind of ignore it or pass it off or whatever. It's up to me, right? Should I take that personally or just say, oh, it's not, he doesn't mean it, right? And that's very important, right? If we want to achieve or attain this happiness, then we have to have that right perspective. So in this sense, yeah, you can say, from a happiness perspective, there is a right and wrong, okay? In other words, if we view it in a way that, oh, they're attacking me, they're insulting me, or, whatever, in a negative way, view it in a negative way, then yeah, we're not going to get that happiness. So if we want to be happy, then we have to view it as in a positive, try to have it a positive way to look at things, right? So, okay, so there's this little example. You have these guys, they're bricklayers. Okay, they're constructing a building, and so you ask the first bricklayer, what is he doing, right? And he says, oh, I'm just laying down the bricks. And then ask the second one, and he says, I'm earning $50 today from doing this job. Okay, and then you ask the third one, and he says, basically, I'm building a high rise. Okay, so three people, three workers, they're all doing the same work, but they have different views of that work, of their job, what they're doing. Okay, so it's clear that they have different views, and the first person sounds like he's just doing his job, right? He's like, oh, I'm just putting down the bricks. And I mean, we can't really judge whether he's happy or not, but it doesn't sound very enthused. The second one, he's at least he feels like, wow, he's not just putting down the bricks, but he's getting something from it, right? He's earning $50. He's making some money, and of course, with that money, he can do things, and he can maybe enjoy himself or whatever. So you can say that's a little bit better, more positive or optimistic view. But then the third one, he's definitely, he has you can say maybe a greater aspiration, right? Maybe, having some pride in what he's doing, right? Say, hey man, he's a part of this project that's constructing this high-rise building, okay? So, so no, obviously they can all be happy, but that third person definitely, he seems happy about what he's doing and what he's going to achieve. So clearly, this person has a positive attitude, right? He feels good about what he's doing, and that he can actually realize his potential, okay, and what he's doing. So obviously, once you feel good about what you're doing, then you're more motivated, right, to do well, to achieve. So clearly he has a positive attitude. So our mindset, right, is very important in determining how we feel and what we can achieve, right? It can also help us overcome low self-esteem, for example, or fear, okay? To be able to discover our potential, right? And also to make us work more effectively, right? Because, you can say there's a greater motivation. So, the takeaway is that we should always think positive and be optimistic, right? And in a sense, he's that third person, that third worker, he's also kind of looking at the bigger picture. It's like, well, it's not just putting down brick by brick. I mean, he's actually, creating this high-rise building. Okay. Now, we also want to trigger, thoughts to make people happy. Of course, we also want to have happy thoughts ourselves, right? If we're always thinking negative things, then, we're going to be down, we're going to be depressed, and we're not going to be happy. So we should always think about good things. And, of course, we should spread that. Yeah, I mean, we should spread that happiness, right? It's okay just to be happy ourselves, but it's better for us to also, for other people to be happy as well, right? Because if we are happy, but the people around us are not happy, then that will affect things, right? That will kind of dampen our happiness, right? Depending on, how well, how strongly you feel about being happy. But so we should also try to spread that happiness to others, right? Plus, it's doing a good thing, right? You're helping someone is not they're feeling down. You want to, give them some encouraging words, some happy words, some guide them towards that positive, optimistic view so that they can be happy, right? And then, it's win-win for everyone. So that's we should try to do that. Okay. All right. We can't determine our lifespan, right? Because that's basically karma. You can say it's kind of predetermined. I mean, yes, we can affect it, right, through a cultivation. But okay, we can determine the depth and breadth and richness of our life, right? Basically, what we do with our lives. Okay, and we can benefit ourselves and others, and become what we want to be, both in the mundane world and also in a spiritual sense too. Becoming a Buddha. Okay. So, these are the things that we can do, right? So rather than focusing on the things that we cannot do, that we cannot control, that like we can't really necessarily control, our lifespan, but we can definitely try to control what we make of it. Okay. So that's also very important. And trying to achieve happiness, right? If we're always constantly struggling to, try to change things that basically we can't change, then we're gonna be frustrated and we're not gonna be happy, right? So always trying to. So sometimes we get stuck. We get stuck in that certain view, or where we think we have to change this, but if it's something that you can't change, then it's a futile effort, and we're not going to get anywhere. So we have to change. Again, you can say it's our perspective, our view of things. Change our way of thinking, right? So we shouldn't be stuck. We shouldn't be so attached to something. We can use our Tao heart and mind to deal with everything. Again, this is kind of basically because our human nature, right? We have all sorts of, we have biases, attachments, our subjectivity, everything. These things, when we deal with things, they may not be the correct way, right? They can lead, especially those attachments, they can lead to suffering, right? So we have to try to use a kind of a very clear, you can say, sometimes you might say fair, or non-judgmental, and all these things, right, that we talk about in cultivation, trying to get rid of those things. So we love ourselves and love others, right? Be content and grateful. We shouldn't fear getting old either. As we age, we kind of maybe feel like, oh, I'm becoming useless, or whatever. But the only thing that we should fear is not having virtue, merit, and speech. Those are the three imperishables that we talked about before. So those ultimately, those are the things that last, right? Our virtue and our merits. Our merits are basically, it's what we've achieved, what we've accomplished, right? No one can take that away from us. The virtues as well, and the speech, basically, how we conduct ourselves, what we say, how we interact with people, how we teach, guide others. We can influence. We can be a good influence on others, right? We can make a difference in other people's lives as well. Right? Use our limited life to create the eternal life. Okay, so this is there was that topic about knowing and fulfilling our true destiny, right? So that's the eternal life. But so we need to maintain our personal integrity, our morality, moral integrity, and share heaven's grace with the world. So, being Tao cultivators, we are, there is, we know about the heaven's grace, being able to receive the Tao, to cultivate, to be able to transcend this cycle, this world, okay? And so we should share that with others too, right? Because that will definitely should bring happiness. Okay, not only to us but to others. So really, we can obviously, our health, right? We talk about physical health, but also, what's important is our mental health, our spiritual. You can say spiritual health, I guess. So we cultivate our body, mind, and spirit in exchange for getting, that what we may call true health, I guess, the health, overall health. All right. Okay. All right, so we want to abstain, abstain from slanderous words in order to be free from disasters. Okay, so a lot of time, like we say, so these are basically all about what's coming out of our mouths, right? Whether we're angry, right? Angry words. If we can abstain from those, then we can clear up enmity or resentment. If we abstain from evil words, we can have establish an upright and righteous mind. We abstain from crazy talk to avoid misfortune. So we say, what comes out of the mouth creates a lot of disasters for ourselves. And so this is the thing that we have to be careful of, even, things that we might not have the intention when we say something, but, it could definitely cause cause some disaster. So we have to be careful what we say. So auspicious people, they speak good words, they see the good, or see the good in others, and they do good, and they are therefore blessed. Okay, so this is certainly something that we should keep in mind. Always, so cultivation, of course, is being mindful, right? We always being mindful, being aware of ourselves and of others, right? So we definitely have to be aware of what's going on in our mind, what our thoughts and what we're saying, and also what we do. Okay, and we have to let go of past wrongs and baggage, what I'll call baggage, things that we carry from the past that we are still attached to, or it becomes the root of future karma. Okay, so this is very important. Like in Tao cultivation, we always talk about letting go, right? Letting go of these attachments, because these are typically the things that, the things that cause us unhappiness, not being happy a lot of them are things that we carried from the past. Okay, things that happened in the past, right? And so the past is the past. We can't change the past, right? Remember, we were just saying, rather than try to change the things that you can't change, because then you're not going to be happy, just focus on the things that you can change and that you can control, right? So the past, we have to let go of the past, right? So here, this is good. It says, let it go. One of the happiest moments in life is when you can find the courage to let go of what you can't change. Okay, so definitely that is something that we should learn to do. All right. There's just we we get angry at someone, but once it's done, it's done. It's and we keep that anger. Then we're really just harming ourselves, and obviously we're not happy. And so we should definitely let it go. Right. Let it go. It's already, we can't change it. All right. So that's a very good advice. All right, so what we want to do is eliminate factors of unhappiness in our lives. All right, so for example, having wrong understanding and inverted views. Okay, so humans, right? We're driven by ignorance, basically, and humans kind of blindly pursue happiness, right? They're pursuing it in all the material world. As a result, they can't really attain happiness, but rather it leads to endless suffering. To gain happiness requires a more, you could say, a reasonable or methodical approach, right? It's basically not impulsive. Okay, so if we are always impulsive, we say, oh, I just do this and do that, however I feel, then, it's, you're going to be up and down all the time. Okay, it's going to be a roller coaster. But we want life to be a little bit smoother, okay, smooth going, and hopefully it's kind of like at least kind of happy, try to be happy all the time, right? So, the material things, right? They're not okay. So we have to, definitely understand causality, cause and effect, karma, right? So that we don't do things that just to please ourselves, right? Satisfy, make us happy right at this moment. But it might be doing something that's wrong, or worst case, like committing a crime, right? So we shouldn't do that. We have to understand that, life is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. All this material stuff, and it's life is unpredictable. So even though we may have things, we can get things that kind of cause us to feel happy, but it's temporary. We can lose it too, right? So that's, you can say it's kind of we have to balance, right, the short-term view with the long-term view, right? The short-term, if we can't necessarily achieve the long-term goal of constant happiness, then obviously we want to have some shorter-term happiness, but we have to balance it, right? It can't always be short-term happiness. Then you're just like just bouncing around. I'm happy one day and then sad the next, or whatever, and it's that's difficult, right? It's difficult to live like that. We have to get rid of our ego attachment, right? We just this ego. Unfortunately, that's who we that kind of defines us, and that kind of controls us. Okay, so we have to get rid of the self-centered view of everything, right? It's not all about me. It's not about us, right? It's because that's where people have problems with what people say or do, and they take it personally because they think it's about them, right? So we have to let go. Once we can let go of that, then it won't be a problem anymore, right? Or people who consider their possessions, the things that they own, that they have, as being the self or defining themselves, right? So, they are defined by, the brand name clothes that they wear, or the brand name, handbags that they, or shoes, or the car that they drive, or the house, whatever. So these are not, again, these things are external. They are not us. Okay, they shouldn't define who we are, right? So the material things are not the essence of happiness, right? But they are merely the causes and conditions of happiness. But these causes and conditions, they can change. Okay, so someone who has all these fancy name brand stuff, well, one day they can meet with a disaster and they lose it all, right? So we should not define ourselves as the things that we have. That's not the real me. Of course, the real me is the true nature, the Buddha nature, but then that's also, there is no me there. Okay, so there's no self. All right, the mindset determines who we are, really, right? So it's what's in our mind. Happiness is the unity of material and spirit. Okay, so some people base happiness on material things, and a lot of people do that. But others, they base it on kind of like that spiritual, the spiritual. Okay, so but we can't be without material things. All right, so obviously we need both. Now, if the environment, right, our material possessions, our living conditions, family, career, or whatever, is poor, right, it's not ideal, it's not satisfactory, then of course it'll be difficult to be happy. But if we are, on the other hand, if the environment is perfect, it's ideal, but if we are in a bad mood, then we're still going to be miserable, right? So you need both. I mean, both sides, the internal, the external conditions, they're both important for happiness, right? Okay, so, and of course, we also need to get rid of the three poisons, right? The three poisons: greed, anger, delusion. And because if we let them govern our lives, then it would only bring harm to ourselves and others. And of course, these are, the Buddha says, these are the root of hell, basically. Whether we go, to hell, the underworld after we die, or in this life, it leads to that kind of suffering, okay, or in a future life, right? And we have to get rid of the unwholesome deeds, the things that we do that, because if that are not good, right? When we plant the unwholesome seeds, that only leads to bitter consequences. Right? A person of evil, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. A person of evil, oh. Right, it's like sharpening an. I don't know. There's this. I guess maybe there's a saying here. It's like sharpening a knife, right? We don't see any loss or harm, right, while you're doing that, but little by little, that the harm and suffering is accumulating every day, and one day it will manifest, right? So these are all causes and condition and factors of unhappiness in life, right? If we want a happiness in life, then we must make a diligent effort to eliminate these factors, right? And it's there could be other factors too here. Okay, so on the other hand, though, we want to plant the field of blessings by doing good deeds. Okay, so basically. By widely planting the seeds of blessing, right? If we have spare time, or better yet, we make the time, right? Make the time to perform charity, for example, right? That's the first paramita, right? Number one of the 6 paramitas, right? We perform more good or kind deeds to benefit others, right? We perform the 10 wholesome deeds, which there's no. This should be relatively easy to do, because it's basically is do not do these things, right? No killing, no stealing, no lust, no lies, no slander, no harsh or divisive speech, no jealousy, no ill will, and no false views. Okay, so maybe some of those might be a little bit more difficult, but in doing so, right, we create a source of endless happiness. Little by little, we accumulate good, wholesome deeds. Although we may not see any change in the short term, but longer term, we will see a difference, right? Just like the grass that grows imperceptibly every day, but over a month, we see that the grass has grown significantly, right? We don't notice the changes every day that's happening, but over time, it'll be manifested. Okay, so so this is a saying here that says, right, being evil and doing unwholesome deeds, right, although the calamities have yet to come, the blessings are already far away. So even though, so we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, maybe we haven't seen the consequences yet, but already we are not blessed. Okay, the blessings are already you can say luck or good fortune has staying away from us. And then so we might not realize that. On the other hand, being kind-hearted and doing good deeds, right? Though the blessings have yet to come, misfortunes are already far away. So we're doing good, but we say, I don't see the result. I don't see good things happening. The blessings. But the misfortunes are already staying away from it. We're not encountering the misfortunes. So we tend to, people, when they seek, or even like, seeking the Tao blessing, right? I think, they want to be blessed. They want to turn things around, right, in their lives. They say, this, things are really bad for me right now. I want to receive the Tao and hope, turn things around right away. Well, yeah, that may not happen, right? The blessings may not come right away. I mean, first of all, we have to start doing good deeds. Okay, we have to start doing. It's not just receiving the Tao. I mean, we have to perform merits and establish our virtues. But even though we have the good things haven't happened yet, the further misfortunes. I mean, maybe we might be in an unfortunate situation, but shouldn't get worse. Okay, and eventually we'll have the blessings that we're looking for. Okay. All right, and then contentment. Okay. Very important in being happy, being satisfied, right? Contentment is a cheap way to get happiness, really. It's a very cheap way to do that, right? We don't need to get anything, right? It's just we are happy with what we have, okay? So, a contented person can be satisfied and happy with simple living conditions. Yeah, unfortunately, the society that we are in today here, in developed, worlds, in developed countries, where it's very, I guess maybe especially in capitalist countries, societies, it's based on material stuff, owning stuff, having more of things. And so, there's that emphasis. And therefore, it is hard for people to be satisfied with what they have. It's like, oh, they're constantly being told, you need more, right? And so they feel, and they look at others and say, well, look at the, look at the other guy. They have a bigger house, they have a better car, then you're not satisfied with what you have. So that's not good. Whereas in kind of poorer countries, they're more contented. Yeah, maybe they don't know about all these. They don't have access to all these other luxuries, but that's not a bad thing. Okay, so everyone, they can be happy. The quality of life is not necessarily based on those material things. It's really a lot is based on the mental well-being, okay, and emotional well-being. And so if they are content, they are happy being with family and friends, that's really what counts, okay? So people who are, insatiable or greedy, right, are never satisfied no matter how much they have, and therefore they cannot be happy. Whereas a contented person can be satisfied and happy in those simple living conditions. Now, many people in the world, they have disabilities, right, or other conditions that make them less than whole physically. Okay, so now we're talking about, you can say these are their own physical attributes, but however, they manage to overcome their handicaps and excel either physically or in other ways, right? So, a lot of times we say, oh man, I have this bum leg. I can't run, or I can't even walk well. Then, it's not very happy. But, well, we can overcome that really, because we always focus on the negative, right? We always focus on this, this leg. I mean, I can't really, I can't really use it as well as someone who's healthy. But that's focusing on the negative. So that's not good, right? So we have to change that view. Now, so these people who have handicaps, and they can achieve, sometimes they can achieve more than other healthy people can, right? Now, because they pursue a goal and work hard, they can be successful. Even if they do not become the best, at least they try to know that they put in their best effort and achieve more than most people who do not have the handicaps even, right? So they can be satisfied with their achievements and be happy. Not only that, they can also inspire others to do better. Okay, so I mean, whenever I see, something like that, where someone they've got some kind of handicap, but yet to see that they are happy, that they are successful, that they have achieved what they want, in it is very inspiring. And I saw this poster in the at the chiropractor's office, and it's a cyclist, right? But the cyclist, he has only one leg. I'm thinking, wow, how does he do that? but he's able to do it. So why? Because, well, this last point here, determination or will and effort. Okay. If there's, right, the saying, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Without the will, then there is no way, right? If if you didn't try, it would have been impossible, right? So, having that will, that determination to try to achieve what we might think is the impossible, who knows? It could be possible. Okay, so this is something that we should always, so that's the mindset that we should try to have, right? Don't earlier I said, don't limit ourselves, right? Don't limit ourselves. Don't paint us into a little corner where, oh, this is it. This is all I can do. This is then we really are setting ourselves up for disappointment. All right. Okay. Now we definitely have to. We should be active. Okay, so these are kind of more. This is now more, I guess, maybe some practical tips, I guess, about being happy. To be more happy, we need to have better health and longevity, right? So we have to be active. Not sitting in front of the computer all day, or sometimes it's okay. I mean, that's part of the work, right? Like, working in a computer at the desk all day. But yeah, we have to get up and move around and exercise some. All right, so definitely we have to get enough sleep, right? So people tend to be grouchy when they're when they don't get enough sleep. Like I don't know, I tend not to get, I'm guilty of this thing, not getting enough sleep here. But that is very important to our overall health, right? Not just physical, but mental health, emotional health. We have to stay active and balance physical and mental activity, right? Exercise is benefits body and mind, and is good for overall health, relaxation, and reduce mental stress. So definitely, this is true. That we think that, well, it's happiness is kind of this mental thing, but our body does affect our mental state as well. So definitely doing exercise, it does feel good actually when you exercise, and so it has all sorts of benefits. So we should try to do that. Engaging in healthy hobbies, and definitely no smoking, drinking, right? That these are these are things, or any kind of bad habits, or bad hobbies, things that are not too good. So these are things that can help us. Healthy body and mind will definitely lead to greater happiness, right? So for example, we can, instead of taking transportation, we can take transportation less and walk more, right? So that way we can also get our exercise. We should desire less, want less, but give more, right? So try to giving, right? There is a satisfaction, a joy in giving, right? Less salt, more vinegar, right? Yeah, salt definitely is salt, sugar, those are things that are bad for our health. And vinegar is actually good for the body. Okay, so, but of course, anything that's good, we still have to balance things, right? Not moderate, right? Don't overdo it. Overdo things, even they're good. It can be harmful. Okay, so eat less and chew more, right? So yeah, we tend to eat too much, right? We should speak less and do more. Definitely, less clothes, more bags. I guess some people they buy all these clothes, right? And every day they're changing their clothes, and actually, we really need to have that much clothes? But anyways, Sumu, I guess, our divine matriarch, did say, wow, today we have so many shoes, so many clothes. It's such a luxury, but it's not a good thing, right? To have all too much, right? Less fixation, more sleep, okay, less sugar, more fruits, right? Is less meat, more veggies. Yeah, actually, eating vegetables, of course, they are good for our health. Meat, besides, yeah, I mean that's this is another topic, but it has all sorts of things that are not good for you. I mean, sure, it gives you some nutrition, but you're also getting all these hormones and toxins and whatnot that's in there. Okay, so and that can also affect your mood as well, right? Okay, all right. How do I actually this how to create happiness, how to avoid afflictions is basically same thing, saying the same. It's just like two sides of the same coin. Okay, so we want to live simply and keep the mind simple, right? So a simple life, right, and simple thoughts allows one to be relaxed and carefree. City life, right? For probably a lot of us, we live in cities, big cities. It's more stressful and exhausting. Why? Because society is just too complicated, right? Life is too complicated, right? People's hearts and minds are too complicated. So exhaustion can be resolved with a good night's sleep, but if the mind is too complicated, right, there's too much thinking, there's worries, stress, then it's difficult to sleep. So human suffering comes from physical suffering and mental suffering, right? People who suffer physically are in the minority, right? People, yeah, and but people commonly suffer mentally, right? They have this mental suffering. People who suffer a complicated society and living and complicated living causes exhaustion and stress. So complicated thoughts are the breeding ground for all kinds of afflictions and delusions. Right? So so therefore we want to try to simplify. Right? I think that was one of the 12 one of the 12 relinquishments. Right? To simplify things. Right? To simplify our lives. To simplify our mind, and that will definitely we will be more relaxed. Okay. And okay. So and okay. So there's nothing to gain or to be subject to, right? Basically, we live in the world of outflows, right? The outflows, because there's the five skandhas, we have desires, attachments. So there are bound to be misfortunes. But why do people facing the same circumstances have varying degrees of suffering, right? We are hurt by misfortunes, right? Because we care about them. Okay, so if we do not care about something, right, then no matter how big the misfortune, it's no big deal to us, right? So again, if we say, oh, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't affect me, what a lot of times it really doesn't affect us, but we make it such that I mean we think that it does, and therefore we bring on that suffering. Okay, so we want to be freed from the emotions, right? Get a correct view of reality. Observe that all phenomena are empty, and there's nothing to gain. Okay, so then one is unperturbed and can calmly face any misfortunes. Okay, so obviously, this is kind of like a high level, like a bodhisattva, or maybe a saint or sage, how they can face things. But that's our goal, is try to get to that level, right? Because otherwise, we're always going to be there's always going to be some kind of suffering as long as we are influenced, we are affected by these external these factors. Okay, right. Okay, so when harm or trouble comes, we should respond with kindness, right? So when anger comes, respond with geniality. You can say, or friendliness, warmth, cordiality, amiability, hospitality. Okay, all these things. When stubbornness comes, respond with gentleness. It could be being soft, flexible, or yielding. Okay, when people use clever words, accept it sincerely. When people use harsh words, respond indirectly. When people use mocking words, respond silently. Okay, so so this is kind of a if you notice, this is you're not falling into the duality trap, right? The duality trap would be when any of these things are happening, right? Then we respond in kind. Okay, so we respond the same way. Then that's that duality trap that creates karma. And so this is kind of, you can say this is like the yielding. You're always kind of yielding or kind of deflecting things. So this is the way of Tao. Actually, this is the way of Tao. This is it's just like water, right? Be like water. So water does not confront things. When it hits there's an obstacle, it just flows around it. Okay, so the same way in dealing with people, dealing with situations, we should be like water. We should be flexible, be yielding, try to go around things, right? Don't confront it directly. So in some like judo, martial art, right? That's kind of the way you make use of the other person's force to deal with them, to defend yourself. Okay, so it's not direct, force against force, or right? So you're not hitting back directly, and so this is really the way of Tao, and so we have to learn how to do this. It's not easy. It's not easy. So it's kind of like what Jesus says, right? You turn the other cheek. Okay, it's basically to not confront, not to create that, basically, and the reason is you don't want to create that karma. Okay, because once you create that karma, it's a slippery slope. All right, and could be no end to that. So we have to kind of break it, stop that. A saint, all right, is for the good of others and forgets the self. Right, a sage puts the good of others before the self. Right, a fair or upright person considers both others and self. Okay, a common person puts the self before others. Okay, a sinner, I don't know, this is a sinner or maybe a criminal, is only for the self and disregards the others. A fool does not distinguish the self and others. An unrefined person fakes being good to others while saving the self. Okay, so these are kind of like different, going from one end of the spectrum to the other, where it's all about good for others and not having the self, right? So this is, the saint or the bodhisattva or Buddha, where there is no self anymore. It's all about others, about the good of others. And to the other end of the spectrum, where it's it's just about the self, okay, and forget about the others. So the question is, what kind of person are we? So we should really we should strive. Hopefully, we're like maybe in the middle here, like the common person, maybe, or the fair or upright person, where we give consideration to both ourselves and others, maybe on an equal basis. But we should really go towards the sage and the saint, where it is really just trying to do good for others and forget about ourselves. Okay, so because we tend to think that, if I'm doing that, I think most people, the common person thinks, when they're doing that, then they're losing something, right? They're giving up enjoyment, they're giving up whatever so that other people can enjoy it. But actually, in the end, we benefit. Okay. So again, it's kind of having the short-sighted view versus the long-term view. Okay, so so that's hopefully we can strive to again the saint, the sage, they you can say that they can always be happy, right? Because they aren't affected by things. They that joy, that you can say the happiness, the joy is internally generated, right? By doing good for others, benefiting others. And that gives them that joy and happiness. Okay, so we need to rein in or bring back, pull back the heart and mind. Many of our afflictions are the result of letting the mind loose to wander about, right? We lose ourselves outside in the world, okay? Right? Mencius says, right, we know to look for our animals when they are lost, right? But we do not know to look for our heart and mind, basically our conscience, when it is lost, right? The way of Tao does not involve anything other than to find or restore our true heart and mind, or our conscience. Okay, so that's, so it's like when we have things, our possessions, we think are so important to us that we will go look for them. We say, oh, I lost my dog, or I lost my whatever, and you go look for it. But people don't realize that they're out of touch, or they kind of, you can quote unquote, lost their conscience, and they don't know to look for that. So this is, the Tao is kind of remind us that really what's important, we have to have that conscience. Okay, that's something that is more important than anything else, really. If we don't have that conscience, that leads to all sorts of, eventually the whole chain, the karma and suffering. Okay. We have to have the proper view and understanding. Okay. Many of the afflictions are the result of having improper or wrong thoughts or mindset. Okay, it's kind of part of what I was saying earlier. When we have afflictions, we must think to ourselves, maybe my thoughts or mindset is deviant. Okay, they used the word deviant here. You say improper, wrong, or it's not following the conscience, or it's, kind of abiding in that duality or subjectivity. Okay, so in the Platform Sutra, right, Sixth Patriarch in the Prajna chapter, okay, so he says, right, when the deviant mind comes, right, affliction arises. When the right mind comes, affliction is eliminated. Right, cast aside both right and wrong, or wrong right, duality. Right, the pure state of no residue is attained. Okay, so that's duality, right? So we have to, again, try to get away from that duality, that thinking of, right and wrong. Tao is not about right and wrong. Tao in action, right, is about harmony. Okay, it's about harmony. Okay, harmony is not about right and wrong. Okay, most of our afflictions are the result of our bad habits, bad temper, and improper mindset, right? Our attachments, our biases. So if we find ourselves unhappy, then the best thing to do is to look within ourselves and change ourselves. Right? We live in a shell that we create for ourselves, a kind of wall or barrier around us. Right? We live. You might call it. It's our comfort zone. Right? We stay within that comfort zone. Right? So obviously, who doesn't want to be comfortable, right? So we stay within the limits of that zone. Now, the only problem is that if our happiness depends in any way on the environment, then if the environment does not match our comfort zone, then we will be uncomfortable and unhappy, right? Okay. So sometimes we have to break out of that, our shell, so to speak. Okay. Now, we wanted to face up to cause and effect, or karma, right? If we hear something that we don't want to hear, we should think that in the past we must have said something that we shouldn't have said. Okay, so the past cause has produced the current result, and now all is even, right? So that is a good way to think about it, right? So when someone says something bad or did something, we say, we should think that, well, that's just the payback from my past karma, and now we're even, so just let it go, okay? And it's only the problem comes when we don't let it go, then we just create more karma. We just perpetuate that karma, and that's just more suffering, right? So again, our view, we have to have that right view. Uh, so to criticize others is a fault of the mouth, but being criticized reduces our sins. So that's a good thing, right? So there's, so we shouldn't criticize other people, right? Because that's not, we cannot use the excuse that say, oh, this is payback for karma, right? That when we do something or say something to someone else to get back at them. No. But on the other hand, when we are being criticized or someone is taking advantage of us, that is really kind of reducing our sins. So it's actually a benefit to us. Now, it's not to say that we should deliberately be taken advantage of, things like that. No, I mean, we still have to have wisdom. We still should protect ourselves when we can. Like, we don't want to be scammed, for example. But if, despite our best efforts, it happens, then yeah. So at least we can, we should say, hey, that's good. It's reduced my, some of my sins. Okay. Right. Yeah. So, when we criticize someone else and it seems like we've taken advantage of them or gotten the better of the other person, but that's actually the wrong thing. And that's the opposite, really. Okay. Of what happens. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. So, this last point, we should improve and elevate ourselves, right? Don't lower ourselves to the level of others. This is, that's where, again, going back to the other, thing that said, basically how others treat us and then we treat them the same way, right? If they treat us badly, we shouldn't treat them badly either, because that's lowering ourselves to their level, right? So they shouldn't treat us badly in the first place. But if we then do the same to them, then we've lowered ourselves to that level, right? So that's why it's always, the way we treat them is always with kindness, okay? Of course, we always have to use our wisdom, but so in that sense, we treat everyone always the same, right? Always in a good way, right? So that and this way we never lower ourselves to their level. Okay, so we need to thoroughly understand what is true and false. Okay, so what in this world is true and what is false? Only the three imperishables is true. The virtue, merit, and speech, right? Besides, our true nature, our Buddha nature, of course. But in terms of what's more tangible, is these things that affect us in our lives. That is everything else. All the material things, the possessions, the things that we can get are not. Okay, so again, we need to put more emphasis. Don't emphasize those material things as much. Don't get too self-involved, or afflictions will just increase. Getting self-involved. It's like it's our wants, our desires, our ego, right? So that's the Four Noble Truths. That suffering, there is suffering and affliction, and everyone knows that, right? But it's due to our desires and attachments, right? So that's this self-involvement in everything, right? So and we can end the suffering, and it's basically through Tao cultivation. Okay, so and Buddha kind of prescribes the Noble Eightfold Paths. That's a specific way of doing it. But yeah, through our Tao cultivation, we can get away from afflictions. Okay. Don't expect others to be the same as oneself in everything. Yeah, this is another thing that we tend to have problem with. We expect other people to be like us, right? To be as smart as us, or as know as much as us, or whatever, or think the same way as us. Right? Everyone is different, and they have a different appearance. Right? Nature's beauty comes from its myriad varieties. Right? Was it varieties the spice of life? I mean, if in the world, if everyone is exactly the same, then you just have a world of it's like robots, right? But that wouldn't be very interesting. But we definitely we can't really change. Again, this is one of the things that we can't really change. We can't change. We can't force someone to be like us. Okay, so again, this being like us means that we have that ego, right? That self-centered thing. So drop that. Okay, get rid of that. We can't have that view. Okay, so right, so we can't expect people to be the same, especially it's all relative, right? So why should everyone be like me and not someone else? Right? Nobody is perfect. Even though we say to emulate the saints, sages, and bodhisattvas, right? It does not mean that we should be identical to them, exactly the same, right? They were all different, but the thing that they had in common is the most important. The virtue, merit, and speech, right? The three imperishables. And so, they can have their slight, their differences in personalities, right? If you see the Buddhas, when they, well, any of the Buddhas, the patriarchs, the masters, they all, they were all the same. They had the same goals, of course, the same, and in terms of those three imperishables, the virtues, but there were differences in how they went about and doing things, right, or saying things, right. So that is still there, but so we shouldn't force people to be the same. Don't attach too much importance to one's possessions. Okay, again, this material stuff, right? Everyone values the things that they have as a way to affirm themselves, but too much leads to afflictions, right? So again, don't overdo it. I mean, we have be content, right? Learn contentment. Now, true self-esteem does not depend on those material things, right? Whereas, although there's in certain societies today, that there's that pressure. It's like peer pressure or whatever, societal pressure that people feel like, oh, they have to dress at least as well as the next person, or have this same name brand stuff, so, but that's, that's not going to bring happiness. Okay. So man is tempered and refined in the crucible between heaven and earth. Yeah, this is something that we have to realize, that why we're here. Basically, there's a saying that jade is not useful if it is not crafted, basically, chiseled, polished, and all that, right? Gold is not valuable if it is not smelted, right? You have a gold ore, if you ever look at it, it looks like a rock, and it's not really useful unless it's melted down and, you extract the gold from it. So this is that's being in this world, being a sentient being in this world, being a human being in this world. We are subject to this. Okay, so what is our purpose here? Basically, it is to pay back karmic debts and to collect karmic rewards. Okay, so for most people, yeah, I mean, all sentient beings, we're here because we have karmic debts and also, karmic blessings or rewards, okay, as well, things that we planted in the past. But also, we need to learn the lessons in life and to improve and elevate oneself. So if we don't learn the lessons and improve or elevate oneself, then we're going to continue to be doing this first one. We will be here always, coming back life after life to pay off our debts and collect reward or blessings. Okay, so the ultimate our ultimate goal is to transcend that. Okay, and also and then obviously there's another type reason why we might be here is to also fulfill our vows. Okay, so but so again, to avoid these afflictions, to kind of gain happiness, we have to kind of learn the lessons, right? Life gives us all sorts of lessons that we have to learn. If we don't learn them, we're only going to, basically we're repeating the mistakes, and we're going to continue until we eventually, hopefully we will learn. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So so we want to eliminate the factors of unhappiness. Again, these could be things about like our wrong understanding and inverted views, wrong views, that ego attachment. Okay, get rid of our ego, the self-centeredness and attachments, three poisons, unwholesome deeds. Okay, all these things, and we want to try to plant more seeds. Good seeds, wholesome seeds. That is the field of blessings, right? So we will kind of reap the blessings in the future if we perform good, wholesome deeds. Right? We want to reduce our wants and desires. Right? So this is kind of being content. We want to live simply and keep the mind simple. Right? So don't make things too complicated for ourselves or for others. Right? Understand that sentient beings are to be refined. Okay, so we just talked about that. Holy Teacher says, right, there is much happiness in the world, but unlimited happiness only comes from sacrificing the self for others. Okay, so yeah, you can get a lot of happiness from the things in the world and the things that we do, but the greatest happiness, joy, right, unlimited, comes from sacrificing, or you can say, just giving of ourselves for others, right? Benefiting others, helping others. Okay. To save others is a living Buddha. To save the self is a common person, right? So most people are common people. The title, the Jigong Buddha, right? Our holy teacher, right? Jigong means to save the public, save others. Okay, so that and that is really what a Buddha does. That's what a Bodhisattva does. Okay, so they've gotten rid of that self. Okay, gotten rid of there's no ego. Holy Teacher says, right, let go of attachments and stubbornness, right? Do not avoid one's duties and responsibilities. Okay, so we might have definitely all sorts of attachments we have to let go of, our biases, our stubborn views, and we should fulfill our duties and responsibilities, things that we were supposed to be doing. Sometimes we feel like, I don't like to do this. I don't want to do this, but we should, we have to do what we have to do. Okay. And again, that, we create that suffering for ourselves when we say, oh, I hate this. I don't want to do this. Or, I don't feel comfortable doing this. But when we have that mindset, that's just suffering because we have to do it. And so why not make it enjoyable, right? Be happy while we're doing it. Just accept it and say, so we have, it's really this, there's nothing can change that other than our own mindset, within our own mindset. Okay. Be content and achieve the highest good. Blessings are for those who are always grateful, and happiness is for those who are content. Yeah. So definitely try to be content, be grateful, right? Appreciate things. That is the way to happiness. Okay. The true happiness is internally generated and sustained and is in the moment. Okay. So again, it's coming from within. If it's not dependent on anything else, then we can always be happy, right? There's, create a happy and fulfilling life. So we, again, learn to appreciate, learn to be grateful, learn to be content, look for the good in others or in everything, and try to be optimistic. And then we should have less ego, right? Kind of get rid of our ego, have fewer desires, and have more consideration for others. Okay, so always try to take them into consideration, or at least and try to do things for others. And then ultimately, if we get to this level, use the four immeasurable minds, then we're a bodhisattva, okay, or Buddha. So okay, so yeah, this is good. Always end your day with a positive thought and a grateful heart. Okay, so we should be grateful that we are alive, that we are able to cultivate. Maybe we don't have everything that we want, but that's not as important, right? If we have this mindset, the positive mindset, the grateful, the gratitude, then we can be happy. That is, our how we feel, being happy. That mindset is so much important, more so than the material things that we think is what we need for happiness, but it isn't really. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. Right, and there's no secret to happiness. Really, there is no secret. It's just in the mind. It's in the mind. It's in the mindset. Okay, so there is no secret formula to being happy. Yeah, there are all these kind of like guides or tips, advice about what we can do to try to be happy or to get rid of afflictions. But there's no secret thing. I mean, it's just whether we want to do it, whether we want to achieve it, and to have that will, that determination to do it. Okay, that's really all it takes, right? Okay, and let's see. Oh, okay. Well, there's a song. It's called "True Happiness," or "True Happiness" or "Blessings," I guess, by Nanhai Buddha. Okay, says so happy for universal salvation. Be grateful, right? So we definitely should be grateful that we are in this white era where we can we encounter the Tao because of universal salvation. It's so abundant, right? We are nurtured by the earth selflessly, right? We cultivate the Tao, be filial, we harmonize the family, we spread the Tao with joyful giving and mercy, right? We should awaken now. It's such good timing. Don't delay, because this is, again, that universal salvation period where we can spread the Tao, propagate the Tao, and we should reduce our desires, do good and dispel the evil. By conscience, do sincerely pray, don't yearn for illusion. Yeah, you should always try to follow our conscience. Don't lose our conscience. Okay, don't cover it up. And hopefully then we won't, pursue the illusory world, the material things, and those are all illusions. Okay, so get rid of all our attachments. We should harmonize with everything, with all. Okay, we should be full of virtues. Right, face the bright, beautiful future. Follow in the saints' footsteps. Again, okay. So return to my truest pure land. Transcend reincarnation for eternal reunion. Okay, so hopefully, we can transcend this reincarnation and return to the absolute heaven, and that is the infinite. Well, I mean that's the eternal happiness there. Okay. All right. That's it. All right. All right. So if I had said anything wrong or not satisfactory, I asked Buddhists for forgiveness, and also asked transmitting masters and lecturers for their corrections. Thank you.